Ever heard of a diet that promotes and promises a quick fix, reveals secrets to magic foods, and grants weight loss? This is typically known as a fad diet, which can be achieved through rigid rules and the exclusion or restriction of food groups altogether. The fad diet will generally imply that food can change one's body chemistry, making claims based on testimonials or single studies only. This corresponds with several nutrition myths as seen on screen, with some specifying that you should avoid food groups such as dairy and carbohydrates, or give up options which contain gluten or meat altogether in order to lose weight. Further stated by Randall Stafford, a professor of medicine at Stanford University, a healthy short-term diet is difficult to follow long-term because of the limited food choices and amounts of vital nutrients. Stanford's description is a direct response to the raw food diet, which can in fact be depicted as a fad diet. This is so as it excludes many common staples such as sugar, flour, legumes, cooked meat, and any other foods that have been cooked above 40 degrees Celsius, pasteurized, processed, or refined in any way. This only leaves fruits, raw vegetables, nuts, and seeds, which cannot have been treated with any pesticides of any kind. Despite claiming to provide fast weight loss due to a lack of calories and nutrition, the diet cannot be maintained for a long period of time or become a lifestyle change due to the primary exclusion of vital sources of fats and proteins, which ultimately will result in malnutrition. The raw food diet came about during the late 1800s, which integrated several beliefs that heating food destroys its natural enzymes and nutrients, which are vital in assisting in digestion and fighting chronic diseases. The raw food diet saw a 92% increase in its believers in the US in 2016, following closely behind the paleo diet. This significant increase came about due to the publicity surrounding unprocessed, unrefined, and organic foods being deemed as the answer to weight loss, which ultimately spread to other countries and is being used globally today.
The raw food diet is predominantly a plant-based food plan. However, in some cases, raw dairy and eggs are also consumed on top of raw fish and meat. The consumption of raw food can cause serious illness, and this has to be considered when preparing food, and it may also lead to deficiencies in nutrients like vitamin B12. Furthermore, the raw food diet can lead to cholesterol problems. Researchers found that whilst the raw food diet produced satisfactory LDL cholesterol levels, the HDL cholesterol levels were low, which puts a person more at risk of developing heart disease. For success in weight loss on the raw food diet, the individual must ensure their consumption is still in a calorie deficit, meaning their energy into their body or food intake is less than their energy expenditure, and thus the diet has the potential to lead to weight loss if done correctly and safely.
Day one of the raw food diet starts off with lemon water. The next item on the menu is 32 ounces of freshly squeezed orange juice. For lunch is the banana berry ice cream, followed by dinner, which is a fruit platter and a rainbow salad with orange avocado dressing. Day two of the raw food diet begins with another fruit-infused beverage, Berrylicious water. Then breakfast is 28 ounces of cotton candy juice. For lunch is a melon meal of watermelon and cantaloupe, and for dinner will be an appetizer of pear, apple, and a nectarine. This will then be followed by a rainbow salad with cherry tomato beet top dressing. Let's now take a look at what 2 full days of indulging in Samoan dishes would look like. To start the day, a typical Samoan breakfast will consist of cocoa Samoa alongside a dish of boiled eggs and cocoa ariza. For lunch on day one, we will have a traditional Samoan dish called sapasui, and this is typically served with a glass of orange and mango juice. Dinner for day one will be a traditional Samoan dish called kale. To accompany this will be a glass of cocoa Samoa. Some typical snacks that are consumed throughout the day include Samoan coconut bread and pineapple pie. So day two will be starting with leftover kale, 2 boiled eggs, as well as a glass of cocoa Samoa. For lunch, there will be pasupo, which is another traditional Samoan dish, canned corn, beef, served with bread. With lunch will also be a glass of pineapple juice. Finally, for dinner will be the traditional Samoan oka iwa, raw fish and coconut cream with cocoa Samoa. A common Samoan dessert is baked green bananas with coconut cream poured over the top. Another popular dish is the cocoa ariza, which can be had for dessert or a sweet snack during the day. As displayed from table 3, there is a remarkable difference with regards to the total calories consumed in each diet. There is a difference of 1,711 calories between the two cuisines. This is a significant gap between the two diets, hence raising serious concerns regarding the sustainability of the raw food diet within any culture, particularly that of Samoa. In the tables presented, the direct comparison between the Australian dietary guidelines and both the raw food and Samoan diet highlights significant differences in food group servings. This is prominent in the raw food diet, which has extremely minimal or no consumption of food servings from grains, meat, and milk. It does, however, also present with the other extreme with overconsumption of fruit and vegetables. Upon examination of the Samoan diet and its nutritional servings, it appears a more balanced diet across all 5 food groups. However, it too has gaps and excesses. For example, the Samoan diet demonstrates excessive consumption of dairy and high-protein food groups by roughly 3 to 5 times the recommended amount. Consumption of fruit and vegetables also show evidence for overconsumption, however, not to the same extent as dairy or protein-rich foods. A similar trend is seen in day one's lunch of the raw food diet, which consists of 8 very ripe bananas with raspberries and strawberries. The total volume of carbohydrates in 8 bananas alone is 210% of the daily carbohydrate requirement. This is a clear example of the excessive fruit and vegetable consumption in the raw food diet and how this creates a significant imbalance across all 5 food groups. In Table 4, the unbalanced relationship between the 5 food groups becomes significantly apparent. For an individual living on the raw food diet, they will average 0 servings of grains per day compared to a traditional Samoan diet that will average about 7 servings of grains per day. Whole grains not only contain a series of protective nutritional components, but there is increasing evidence to suggest the association between whole grain foods and decreased risk of weight gain, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. Furthermore, Table 6 shows that on average, an individual of the Samoan culture will eat up to 10 servings of milk per day, yogurt, or some form of alternative. Traditional Samoan meals use large amounts of coconut milk, which therefore would suggest high consumption rates of saturated fats, another nutritional factor that is lacking from the raw food diet. This further highlights the danger of the raw food diet such that consumers are not able to obtain sufficient vitamins and minerals from their already highly restricted diet. So to answer the question of whether men and women living on the raw food diet can obtain the recommended number of serves from each food group, the simple answer is no. There are significant excesses in the number of servings of fruit and vegetables, while servings of grains, meat, and dairy are extremely minimal or non-existent. This is shown in the comparison of the average calories consumed across 2 days in each diet. Those from Western cultures do not require as much food for their body to maintain optimal function as would someone from Samoa. So not only is the raw food diet unsustainable for someone choosing to live on this diet, but also for someone of the Samoan culture whose body is naturally adapted to a higher daily food intake.
Now I will focus on the impact that the diets can have on an individual's health and well-being. In short-term impact, people who are on a raw food diet can increase the risk of food poisoning. Bacteria such as E. coli and Salmonella can be commonly found in uncooked egg, meat, and fish. Also, unwashed and raw foods and vegetables can also carry bacteria. A few, such as taro and rhubarb, are toxic if consumed raw. Otherwise, the short-term raw food diet is not likely to pose major health concern and may show effectiveness for weight loss with high in fiber and low calories, fats, and sodium food. Moreover, it shows a positive impact on mental health. Raw vegetable and fruits intake can reduce depressive symptoms and higher positive mood and life satisfaction. On the other hand, people may experience negative effects if they follow the raw food diet in the long term. It can end up underweight. In a cross-sectional study, nearly 40% of raw food dieters experienced a dramatic loss of body weight, and their BMI was below the reference range. Of this, around 10% of participants who were eating a strict raw food diet suffer from chronic energy deficiency grade 2 and 3. The underweight can potentially enhance the likelihood of increased risk of vitamin deficiency, anemia, osteoporosis with low level of calcium and vitamin D, cardiovascular disease, and type 2 diabetes. Additionally, women on the diet can experience irregularity in their menstrual cycle and develop amenorrhea. In addition, long-term in this diet bear an increased risk of dental abrasion. The diets often contain large amounts of citrus fruits such as grapefruit, orange, and mandarin, and their acid content will weaken and demineralize to animal over time. Lastly, negative social and mental impacts can be present with long-term raw food diets. People may experience a bad social relationship with their friends due to the limited food choice and avoiding cooked food. They are difficult to go out to eat with their friends. Also, they may feel hungry all the time with low-calorie food. As a result, people become more anxious and depressed with low life satisfaction.
Economically speaking, through their diet, raw food eaters try to live the actual conventional food system. Nowadays, globalization impacts our lives on all aspects, whereas it is cultural, educational, or even what's in our plates. A thinker rightly stated that raw food eaters reject the globalization of food supply and distribution. They will therefore rely on organic, fresh, and local foods. But those types of food are well known to be more expensive and sometimes harder to find. Raw food eaters will have to opt on for farmers, market, and whole stores, which is not possible for everyone. In fact, when demographic information was given, studies were reviewed, raw food eaters' dietary status were always higher than the average population, and so was their income. They were also on this diet for a long time, which wouldn't be possible for an average income population. An example, in Woolworth website, we can only find one organic almonds products, which costs 36 per kilo. In comparison, natural but not organic almonds can cost as little as 17.33 per kilo. Another example can be avocados, with a price of 5 each for organic ones compared to 3 each for non-organics. Moreover, as Obbs indicated that according to the Food Guide Pyramid and the Vegetarian Food Guide Pyramid, most of the raw food eaters were consuming more vegetables, fruits, fats, and oils than recommended, meaning that a tremendous proportion of the shopping cart was dedicated to pricey products. In view of the high cost of this diet, it would certainly not be possible for low and even maybe average income people to follow it on long or even short term. Indeed, they could be able to follow it during a day or two, and maybe more, but they would be even more restricted on what to eat. Even if raw food eaters reject food globalization and cooking, they don't reject technical means, enabling them to promote products' naturalness. This means that they enable themselves to crush, mix, or dry food, for example, but this is not without cost. For instance, an air fruit fryer costs $50 at Woolworth. As low-income earners and other fragile population are already touched by food insecurity, they could certainly not put that much money in a kitchen utensil. To conclude, it is important to highlight that there is a lack of scientific literature on the raw food diet, meaning that most of the information available is oriented and biased, and therefore doesn't talk much about social or economic parts of the diet. There is a need of scientific studies on average and low-income population following the raw food diet to establish if yes or no this would be sustainable for them. But from now on, with the information accessible, we can state that long or short term, the raw food diet is not accessible to everyone.
Thank you, ladies and Billy, for your valuable information. What does all of this mean for our Samoan community and for us to come with us for the possible weight loss diet, and can it fit within the cultural and existing meal plans? With our research, we believe wholeheartedly that this is a fad diet. We've found studies that mention participants losing weight. However, there's a high intake of raw food with cooked food being supplemented. So therefore, it's not fully the raw food diet. We've looked at what constitutes the rules and expectations of the raw food diet, and Georgia has planned out a few days of what we could possibly expect. Billy's explained that there isn't much wiggle room with the diet, and we cannot heat anything above 48 degrees Celsius. There is a beautiful raw fish meal on the screen, which does fit in the key and traditional, and it is part of already the Samoan diet. However, there aren't enough of those, and cooking meals is predominantly what is needed. The raw food diet has some limitations, which Camille has found. The cost of fresh fruit, vegetables, and the appliances is much higher than a normal shopping for the prepackaged products. The other cost is preparation time. Does it fit the lifestyle of the individual and the family? Big gatherings in Christmas and Easter will need extra planning time. So, what is our final recommendation? Our recommendation will be an adaptation of the raw food diet to include a predominantly raw food with some traditionally cooked meals included as well. This helps with the nutrients missing from purely raw food diet, as well as ensuring the social gatherings, family and friends are less intrusive. However, as with any weight loss diet, the energy intake must be less than the energy expenditure. So balanced food intake is required, as Georgia suggested, with both physical activity included as well. Thank you very much.